Was I scared to be in the airport and to go into the women's restroom? I was. You know, it is a trying time. But also, I have to continue to live my life, not only for me, but for all of those who follow me, for all of those who are looking for that inspiration and looking for the courage to be themselves. So I just do it. I just choose to wake up every day and be who I am. And if it offends someone, that's on them.
You wanna be a boss today.
Welcome back to the BILFPod, where authenticity trumps authority. I am here on location with the beautiful Miss Laganja Estranja.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to have you.
I'm thrilled to be here.
But first I need to ask you, do you know what a BILF is?
A BILF, a boss I'd like to follow.
Yes.
Period.
But you're a BILF.
I mean, I'm working on it.
No,
you know,
you're a BILF.
On TikTok, I'm getting follows left and right.
Ooh.
But on Instagram, it's been very slow.
That's okay, I follow you now.
Exactly, we follow each other.
Now you're gonna get all the views.
I love it.
Well, I am so excited that you're here, and let's just dive in real quick and
Okay.
talk about let's talk about your background.
Yeah.
And what you're doing,
Sure.
where you're going, what you want to do ultimately. Let's start there.
Okay, well, that's like 7 questions
I know.
right off the bat. So
I'm good.
let me break it down. Well, originally I'm from Texas. I come from a very small town called Carrollton, Texas, and I grew up in musical theater. My parents realized at a very early age that I was eccentric and that putting me in sports was not the right thing to do. So once they got me from out of the, outdoors and into a studio with a mirror where I could look at myself and be surrounded by girls, I was home. So I've been dancing ever since I was like 7 years old. And that sort of led me up to Booker T. Washington High School, which is an amazing school in Dallas, Texas. People like Nora Jones, Roy Hardgrove, Erykah Badu, incredible alumni have graduated from there.
Specialized in performing arts.
Specialized in performing, right. So I studied dance there and then was lucky enough to become a presidential scholar in the arts for choreography. So basically every year, there's 2 smart people that are selected from each city. And then there's only 20 artists who are selected through a program called Young Arts. And you are awarded this very prestigious award. You get to go to the White House, meet the president, which at the time was Bush. So I wasn't really that thrilled with it. But now looking at the mess we're in, I'm like, okay, Bush wasn't so bad. But I got that award. I got to present my work at the Kennedy Center.
Wow.
And it caught the attention of the college that I ended up going to, which was the California Institute of the Arts, which is where I studied dance, more specifically contemporary dance.
Yeah.
And from there, I kind of fell into drag. That was never really my path forward. I always saw myself as being a Broadway star. That's what I was raised to be. But I happened to get on a show called RuPaul's Drag Race, and it changed my life forever. I've been able to travel the world and really build my own brand as Laganja. And so now I'm trying to expand that brand. I think like any boss, we have to have multiple streams and we have to have multiple streams of revenue.
Yeah.
So, I teach dance, I perform, I have my own clothing line. I'm currently developing a cannabis line. So I've definitely got my hands in a lot of pot when I'm not smoking it.
I love that. And that's how you got your name.
That's right. So Laganja comes from LA's ganja. I don't really remember how I made it up because I was medicated. But yeah, that's where it comes from my love of cannabis. I grew up in Texas where it was seen as a very negative thing. So when I moved here to California at the time when it was just medical, I got my medical license and it changed my life. You know, I have a lot of anxiety and depression and sleeping and eating issues, and cannabis really helps regulate me and makes me feel like my most authentic self.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe I should try it. I don't know.
You never tried it?
No, I did one time and I got stuck on my couch. I couldn't move.
Okay, it must have been an indica. We call that couch.
Yeah, that's what happened. I couldn't get up from the couch and it was over. I never did it again. No.
Yeah.
My husband is a smoker. I'm not.
Yeah, well, now there's many different ways that you can get THC into your system, whether it's from infused foods or vaping. There's a lot of different methods. And now there's also a lot of different ratios. So like I think for you and what I recommend to most beginners is starting with a 1-to-1. So it's 1 THC, 1 CBD. So CBD is very popular. It helps a lot with like aches and pains. And it's like a sort of like a natural Xanax, if you will.
Yeah, I like CBD.
Yeah.
Love
so
it.
if you
Sweet.
could get a 1-to-1 ratio, then you might find that to be more, appetizing for you.
I need something. I don't know. I'm like all over the place. Maybe I should try. I have anxiety too. Just smoke a little, eat a little weed, something, whatever, and just like mellow the fuck out. I probably need that.
I think every bad boss, should smoke a little weed.
You need something.
Yeah.
Something, right?
Some little vice.
Something has to be your vice.
Right.
So let's talk about what you were on. You were on RuPaul's Drag, right? That's what you did.
RuPaul's Drag Race.
How did you, I don't understand. Did you have to apply? Did you just wake up one day and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this? How did that happen?
Well, so again, I didn't really choose drag. I always say drag chose me. So I was doing it for fun in college. We had a Thursday night gathering every week where all the artists from the college would get together in the main gallery and show off our work. And I started going to those parties in drag. And it just became something that I really, really loved. And so I entered this amateur competition in West Hollywood at a very famous club called Mickey's. And part of the prize package was if you won, you would become a regular showgirl in their show. So I did win that. And so there I went from just kind of doing it as a hobby to having a regular job. Every Monday night, I had to be able to come up with a new number, a new concept. And as an artist, that really challenged me.
Yeah.
And I loved that. Coming from a musical theater background, you rehearse the same script, the same moves. So having that freedom to really change up my act and my performance, I just loved it. So the natural next step for me as a boss was how do I make more money as a drag queen? And that was getting on RuPaul's Drag Race. And I was really lucky that my drag mom, Alyssa Edwards, was on the season before me. And she was kind of the breakout, not kind of, she was and still is the breakout star from RuPaul's Drag Race. So I think that the production company World of Wonder really wanted to have her daughter on the show to show how crazy our family is.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
So then you go on there and then tell me what happens. Did your
Well, I went on and was a very unique character. I'm sure, we've only met once before, but as you can tell, I am eccentric and very different. And so, I was a polarizing character on the show. People either loved me or they hated me. And unfortunately, in America at the time, most people didn't get me. So I actually began traveling mostly international because people in the UK have a better sense of humor, in my opinion. And people in Brazil admired me for my dancing. And people in Asia loved my appreciation of their culture. So I was really able to see the world. And then a year later, all of a sudden on the new season of RuPaul's Drag Race, everyone was quoting me left and right. And it was this shift, and people's perspective, I think, really changed, because they got to see me outside of the show.
Yeah.
When I was on the show, they took away my cannabis, and it was the first time in my adult life that I didn't have access to my medicine. So I was very, anxiety ridden. And you saw that on the show. I had a big meltdown. I'm very known for saying, I feel very attacked when all the girls were coming at me. But you see, I took that moment that was really painful and I turned it into merch and I made money off of it. So, I have learned throughout my years how to really be a boss by taking advantage of those things that sometimes aren't easy to take advantage of,
Yeah, I'll say this. And people, first of all, the world has become very PC, extremely so you can't do or say anything.
Right.
But let's talk about drag. I mean, who doesn't love a good drag show? But there's a lot
of people out there.
I was just going to say, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that, right? There is. I mean, it is what it is. People don't understand it. They don't agree with it. They have their own views on it, whatever. How do you navigate around that? Now, I mean, that's a lot. And I'm sure people say a lot of shit. How do you navigate around that? And still remain so confident.
To be honest, I have to not give a fuck.
Yeah.
And excuse my French,
no.
But it's taken me a long time to be the confident trans woman that I am today. It wasn't always like this. I was really someone who was raised to look at others for acceptance.
Yeah.
And as a queer individual growing up in Texas, that was really hard.
Yeah.
And, when I came out to California, I found my tribe, I found my people. And, confidence is something that I say you have to fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, I faked my confidence. And then one day, I believed it. And through faking it and through doing it over and over, I realized oh, I actually am that bitch. I'm not faking it. This is authentic. This is true. This is real. So, I just got back from McAllen, Texas, and Was I scared to be in the airport and to go into the women's restroom? I was. You know, it is a trying time. But also, I have to continue to live my life, not only for me, but for all of those who follow me, for all of those who are looking for that inspiration and looking for the courage to be themselves. So I just do it. I just choose to wake up every day and be who I am. And if it offends someone, that's on them. Because I know I'm a good person. I know I'm an artist. I know drag is an art form. You know, and ultimately drag helped me understand my femininity and understand my gender identity. So it's a really powerful tool. And I think that's ultimately why those who are opposed to us are against it, because we represent freedom. And I think a lot of people don't have their own individual freedom. So when they see someone like me, it confronts something that they're uncomfortable with inside, which is the lack of their self-love.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because you think that as a society we'd evolve. We're in 2025 and people
you would think.
You would think. But you know, it's funny because there is such stigma out there. It still exists. People are still so shallow.
I mean, even around cannabis, you know? And even though it's legal in so many states, you know, I think education is the key. And I think that's what's really lacking here. You know, ultimately, I think drag queens get this idea that we're groomers or, you know, that we're all reading to children. Let me tell you, I signed up for drag because I didn't want to be around kids. So there are a select few who engage in, you know, entertaining children at libraries and actually doing good work. But ultimately, you know, it is an adult entertainment industry. And that's why I can see why there is, you know, the pushback. And there are a lot of things, you know, even as a trans woman that I disagree with amongst my community. You know, like another hot topic right now is sports. And should trans people be allowed to play in sports? And, you know, my opinion is like, we need our own category. You know, I love this idea that trans women are women, but for me, I believe trans women are trans women. We're all under an umbrella of femininity and women, but my experience is different than your experience. We'll never be the same. And I think that should be celebrated as opposed to homogenized.
I love that. I mean, I love your take. That makes complete sense. I love it. It's like it's not one or the other. It's like, let's have our own group. I mean,
exactly. When you look at other cultures, like in Hawaii, they're known as mahus. Or when you look at Thailand, they're known as gatoys, or ladyboys is the more common term. You know, there is a embracement of the fact that they are both male and female. And I think that that's somewhere that I really identify with. And I think gender, much like sexuality, is on a scale, right? So if you have male over here and female over here and non-binary in the middle, from non-binary to, you know, cis female, there's different levels, right? And so for me, I'm very comfortable in embracing my transness and embracing the fact that, you know, I'm like a unicorn. I mean, how many people really get to live their life as one gender and then another? It's a very unique experience and it's very special. And that's why I like to be so open and honest and celebrate it, because it's crazy. I mean, I've never experienced, I'm only 3 years into my transition right now, but it is so eye-opening just to see how women are so unequally treated. And, you know, yes, I'm white, and so I have a lot of privilege there, but, you know, being a gay male and being a trans woman, my God, I mean, it's really eye-opening. And I've always, you know, felt more connected to women, kind of going back to what I was saying as a kid, you know, out on the sports field with the boys. I didn't like it, but the minute I got in a dance studio with women, I felt so much more comfortable. And I think that's because, you know, as women, as trans women, we are put against the burner. And there is so much that we have to do that men have no idea. And even as a gay man who did drag, who sort of understood, it's completely different. And that's why I say, like, we belong under an umbrella, right? This umbrella of femininity. We both belong there, but ultimately, you know, I'll never have a period. I'll never be able to give birth. And so I just think we should celebrate that as opposed to be like, no, we're the same. You know, like we can still be together in a group, but understand the differences between us.
And well, I think it's funny that you said that, like understanding. I don't think that men do understand what it's like to be
They don't understand
woman.
a lot.
I don't think they understand what it's like to be a woman in society. Again, like we're in 2025, but yet we really have not evolved into a society.
I mean, they're taking away your rights.
It's ridiculous.
It's insane. When Roe versus Wade got, you know, turned over, I thought, this is not making America great again. This is going backward, you know? And like you said, it's 2025. You would think that as a society, we would have evolved to understand that women have the right of their own body and no one should tell them what to do with it, But
it's still, it's so funny. Like, we really are supposed to be in progressive time. We're not.
Right.
We're not. We're stuck.
Yeah.
People
Half of us are.
Yeah, you're right.
Half of us are.
Not everybody, but being a woman in today's society is so difficult.
Yeah.
So I cannot even imagine what it's like for you that made a choice to be trans, right? And then go into this transition. Now, I'm sure you get stares. People have their own opinions. Do you ever
But luckily, I love stares.
Yeah,
I welcome them.
I love it.
I mean, look at what I wear,
Yes,
So
I love it.
I feed off of attention as a performer. And so while sometimes it makes me uncomfortable when people are giving me a dirty stare, ultimately, like I said, what I believe I represent is freedom.
Yeah.
And so if I have to make someone confront that, I think that's powerful.
I love it. What's the craziest thing you've ever done to somebody, just like, giving you the stare down? Like, have you ever been like...
I'm not a confrontational person. My other half, Gia Gunn, she is the one who will go after them. She will definitely say stuff. But for me, I lead with love. I lead with my heart. And so I try to avoid situations like that. Now, if someone is vocalizing their disdain for me or their hate for me, I definitely will stand up for myself.
Yeah.
But ever since I got sober, I don't really engage in that high school behavior.
Yeah, it's just not even worth it. Don't even give your energy to it.
No, it's not.
It's just not.
I think I'll say things like, take a picture to last longer, like little quirks like that.
But funny.
I don't engage in that because that's a negative energy that I don't surround myself with.
I love that. Amazing. I love that. So now you're going to Thailand. Let's talk about what you're doing. Are you so excited?
I am so excited.
Have you been before?
So I have been many times
now.
Last year, after I did my first gender affirming surgeries, I did what I called the Body Reveals Tour, which is exactly what you would imagine. I did a very burlesque type act to show off the new goods. And it was such a hit that they've invited me to come back. And I'll also be going to Singapore as well. So I'm really excited. I love Asia. I just have a huge affinity for their culture. My best friend who I met on RuPaul's Drag Race, Gia Gunn, is Japanese. So I've always had such a connection to the culture. I think there is a lot more respect in Asia, especially for our elders, which we don't really see here. The food in Thailand is amazing. And also, being trans specifically in Thailand has existed for a long time.
Yeah.
So I feel really comfortable there. I don't feel like I have to explain myself or that I have to assimilate quite the way I have to do here in America.
Sure.
I think they're a lot more open with their gender, with their, flexibility in their expression. Whereas here, especially in Hollywood, hair, makeup, nails, outfit every day.
Yeah.
I don't really feel comfortable just going out without the glam. Whereas in Thailand, I can roll up in sweats and put my hair in a bun and no one's going to call me a dude,
I love that.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I wonder, one thing I want to ask, I always like to ask that, like, as a parent, are your parents like really conservative? Are they super supportive?
No, I'm so blessed. Because
you hear so many
people
stories.
Would think me being from Texas that my parents are conservative, but they were very democratic. They were in the high school counselor system for 30 plus years, each of them. So very blue, very for education, very for acceptance of all. My sister is gay as well and in an interrelational marriage. And so, I grew up in a beautiful environment where I was able to express myself and be put in musical theater at age 7 and travel the world at 14 on a national tour of Will Rogers Follies. And, the trans thing was hard for them. I'm not going to lie. I think, first I came out as a drag queen, then I came out as a cannabis activist, and then it was trans. And that was one of the things why I didn't come out sooner, is because I didn't want to put them through the struggles that I knew would come with this.
Yeah.
But ultimately in the pandemic, my real hair grew out and I realized that I wanted my parents to know me and I wanted them to see the brave and talented individual that they raised, even if that came with some uncomfortable moments.
Yeah.
And, my parents are 75, 76. So there's a big generational gap there. But I think they are seeing that by me living my authentic life, I'm touching so many people. And I think that that's all they've wanted as parents, right? To raise someone who was brave enough to take their art to the next level.
I love that.
And I'm so blessed. No parents are perfect, of course. But I like to think that my parents are pretty close too.
That is so... That warms my heart. They have to be proud of you. I mean, you're doing positive things and just your whole force, your whole energy. And honestly, if you didn't come out and say what you're doing in the transition, you wouldn't be living your authentic self.
Right.
And parents,
I wouldn't be the boss that I am today.
No, and I'll tell you one thing about parents is it's unconditional. It doesn't come with conditional love. Even
Good
if
parents.
it's I mean, I know how I am with my kids. Like anything goes, whatever's gonna make them happy.
Right.
And I would want my kids to live their most authentic self. Doesn't matter. You know, they have to be happy, and that's what's important for me. So you're so blessed with good parents.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna fire some rapid questions.
Okay, I love a rapid fire.
All right, ready? Are you ready? Okay. So what's your ultimate hype song? Ultimate.
Oh, Work It by Missy Elliott.
Love it. I love it. Okay. Favorite RuPaul Drag Race moment besides yours?
I'm still gonna pick myself. Are you kidding? Why would I give this to anyone else? I'm gonna give it to me, All Star 6, when I jumped from the ceiling into the split.
Okay, what is your dream collaboration? Who's it with?
Missy Elliott.
Have you
that's
seen
actually
her?
what this tattoo is. Not only have I seen her,
she looks
I was
so
third
good.
row, VIP vibes. I paid a fortune, but it was amazing. I mean, like, she's my biggest inspiration.
So good.
Yeah,
I saw her at Lovers
She ages
and Friends.
backwards. She's Benjamin Button.
She is super thin. Okay.
Well, Ozempic is helping all of us.
Listen, it does. Look, Ozempic away, honey. I love me some Ozempic.
Yeah.
But I saw her at Lovers and Friends in Vegas.
Okay. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I could not.
I'm so excited for her to be at Coachella this year. I've never wanted to go because to me, dressing up to go into a desert, absolutely not.
Are you going to go to Coachella?
Well, I'm working on it. If I can get sponsored in a golf cart to drive me around, I'm in.
I love that. I love it. All right, heels or flats? For
Heels.
Heels all the time.
Honey, always.
I like them, the bigger the better. I love a bit.
Well, I don't like them too big as
That's 'cause you're
myself
tall.
because I'm already tall,
Yeah.
so it makes it more clocky. But in drag, absolutely. Give me a pleaser.
I like platforms. Everything is platform.
Yeah.
Have to. Love it because it demands presence. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, what's one word that defines you? One word.
Sickening.
I love that. I love that. All right, if you can tell anybody one thing about you, anything at all, what would you tell? What would you want to, let's say this, what would you want to leave your legacy as? How do you want the world to recognize you?
I want to leave my legacy as kindness.
I love that.
I think that that's the most important thing, especially right now as we are so polarized as a society. I think if I can leave a legacy of kindness, that would be my ultimate goal in life.
You seriously are such an inspiration.
Thank you.
Everything about you, well-spoken,
Thank
you're
you so
beautiful.
much.
You can tell your heart is so kind.
Thank
so what's
you.
next for you?
So what's next for me? Lots of things. I'm working on a documentary called Honoring Her. It followed my first gender affirming surgeries that I had last September and sort of the process and how I healed and got through it and then up to my tour. So working on that. And then I have a book called Honoring Him, which is sort of the counterpart to the documentary. And it's all about my childhood up until the day I transitioned. So those are two projects that I'm working on simultaneously. I also have new music coming. My new single, Ish, I-S-H, I think I'm the Ish, is also in the works. And then I'm trying to continue this Body Reveals tour. So I've only done it so far in Asia. So I'd like to expand and go through Europe and the UK and also bring it to America.
I love that. You're doing so many wonderful things.
Thanks.
And I hope that today's episode really shows you that you can live your authentic self and it doesn't matter what people think.
Yeah.
Stop listening to the bullshit.
I mean, it does matter. So I have to
For those
I have
that
to be
matter.
honest
For
with
those
you.
that
Like,
matter.
it does matter, right? Like I want these companies that I work with, like Akira, who I'm wearing today, to have respect for me, and I do care what they think about me.
Yeah,
you know?
because they matter to you. But
that's it.
The others
That's right.
This
Those
over
who
here,
don't matter, then don't let their opinion of you matter.
Ever.
But as a business person, as a boss, you know, it is important in my relationships that, there's a mutual respect. So I do care what people think.
Yeah.
But I don't allow it to affect me and affect my choices in my life.
I love that. And you really are living authentic.
Thanks.
And I hope that that's the message that everybody gets today is living your true authentic self. First of all, is good for you. You have to, right? You can't live in this imposter syndrome thing that people are trying. You just can't do that. But most importantly, like you lead with love and you lead with kindness. And that's all that really matters in the end.
Yeah. You put out what you want to get back.
Yeah.
I really do believe in that. And I really do believe in karma. And I've seen it in my lifetime, you know. Especially here in Hollywood, I've seen people who screw people over and over, and then they go bankrupt, you know? So it's like, I really do think it's all connected.
It is. I always say karma's a big fat bitch at your front door.
Yeah.
Always. And it always comes back.
Right.
But I thank you so much. This talk was amazing.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed talking to you. You're so insightful, so lovely.
I'll have to see you in Florida.
You are going to come see me in
We'll eat
Florida.
some plantains. We'll do a little salsa dance.
We'll do
I'm ready.
whatever you want. We'll just go shopping, have a good time.
Okay.
Love it.
Love
Thanks,
it.
girl. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, if anybody wants to find you, where would they find you?
That's right. You can find me across all social media platforms at Laganja Estranja. That's LaganjaEstranja, except for on TikTok, where I am the only Laganja Estranja.
Get it, girl. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're amazing.
Welcome.
That was great.